question. I'm wondering at what level of consciousness does living a lifetime on the physical earth in a physical human body become not just unnecessary but impossible? Is there a point where our consciousness permanently moves into another dimension, a dimension that we call the heaven realm? And would the human kingdom still be an actual category there? Would we be ascended humans, or do we leave all traces of our humanity behind? Well, I have a number of breakthrough videos where I talk about levels of consciousness and the potential to ascend. And I have one where I talk about the 144 levels of consciousness that's possible on Earth. So basically the idea is that the Earth is a learning environment where we're meant to grow, expand our sense of self. And we do this by moving up and down through these different levels of consciousness. So as I explained, we start as a new life stream, you start at the 48th level of consciousness, and you see yourself as a connected being. You can expand that sense of connection, or you can go into what I call separation, which means you go to the 47th level. And then you can potentially go all the way to the lowest level that's possible on Earth. If you don't turn around and keep going lower, you go to another planet. But if you turn around, you can work your way back up to the 48th level, see yourself as a connected being. As a connected being, you can rise up towards the 144th level of consciousness. And basically, when you reach the 144th level, you're ready to permanently ascend from Earth. You graduate from schoolroom Earth, and you become an ascended master. And I'm not saying you can't, in some cases, ascend before you reach the 144th level, because the higher levels are very subtle psychology, resolving psychology, which can be done from the higher realms. So you don't necessarily have to come into a physical body again if you reach, say, the 138th levels of consciousness or something like that. Is there a point, so does there come a point where it's unnecessary, even impossible? Well, as I said, there can come a point where you're close to the 144th level where it's not necessary to incarnate in a physical body again. You can work in the identity realm, for example, with the Ascended Masters to resolve the remaining psychology so you can ascend. But when you reach the 144th level, and I've explained that there's a certain illusion we need to see through at each level, and then we rise to the next level. So when you reach the 144th level, and you see through the illusion there, then it becomes impossible to maintain a physical body. It's just impossible. And the reason why it's impossible, I have in some videos compared the Earth to a reality simulator. And I've also said that the conscious you, which is the core of our being, descends into embodiment by descending from the 144th through the 48th level. And it does this by taking on an illusion for each step it goes down. And the illusions basically make it seem real that you are a being who is tied to a physical body on a planet like Earth. It seems real. And so when you reach the 144th level, of course it seems less and less real as you climb, but when you reach the 144th level, you basically see through the illusion that the Earth, you see that the Earth is just a reality simulator and nothing here is ultimately real. And therefore you can't hold on to a physical body. You ascend. Does there come a point where consciousness permanently moves into another dimension? And that we can call the heaven realm. Yeah, I call it the spiritual realm. It's a little, I have a little bit of a concern about this word dimensions, because you'll go back before 2012, and there was a big part of the New Age community that was believing in this idea that in 2012 the Earth would ascend into the fifth dimension. And I looked back then at these various teachings, and I could never find anybody who really defined what does that mean, what is the fifth dimension. But there is, as I explained, there is the physical dimension, the emotional dimension, the mental, and the identity dimension. And they are all part of this world that we are living in, which is an unascended sphere. And then there is the spiritual realm, which is beyond that in vibration. So you can say that's a higher dimension. But in the spiritual realm, there are also different levels. So there, you can say different dimensions there, if by dimension you mean a certain spectrum of energetic vibrations. So would your human kingdom still be an actual category there? Yes, but only as an undescended sphere. It's not part of the ascended realm. And would we be ascended humans? No. Do we leave all traces of humanity behind? Yes. That's the whole idea. You climb toward 144th level of consciousness by letting go of the illusions that make you think you are human, and that the human kingdom is relevant to you. And when you let go of these illusions, you have basically, you leave all traces of humanity behind, because you see that you are not a human being. I've explained in several videos that the Earth is an unnatural planet. So nothing here is real or ascended or permanent. While we're in physical embodiment, it has influence on us. But this is what, when you grow towards the 144th level, you see that you're not defined by any of this, and therefore it really can't influence you as a spiritual being. And that means you overcome the illusion that you are a human being who's subject to the physical body and the conditions in the physical realm, the physical dimension. So you are, when you climb the path towards the ascension, you are leaving all traces of humanity behind.